Let's go back to the story coming out of Limpopo, where the High Court in Polokwane is expected to hear that urgent application by the National Liquor Traders Association. This is, of course, on the scrapping of the Limpopo Liquor Act, right? The Act has essentially moved the cutoff time for the sale of alcohol from 2 a.m. to midnight. Our reporter Pimani Baloyi is on the story. Pimani, a good morning to you. I think just for the sake of some context, why would the Limpopo government really take this step, firstly, of scrapping the cut-off hours of the sale of alcohol? Okay, we've got some audio problems there with Pimani. We're going to try and get her back and get you that all-important story coming out of Limpopo. Of course, she is at the court as well, seeing that battle play out between the Liquor Traders Association as well as the government of Limpopo, where they have implemented that law that essentially cuts off the time of when alcohol can be sold from 2 a.m. up until midnight. Liquor traders in the province fighting and arguing that there, of course, is their bread and butter. Let's try and check in with Pimani now to see if the sound is a little bit better. Pimani, some technical gremlins there, but let's start again. We were essentially talking about just the background context, right, about why exactly the Limpopo government has taken this step.
So, Naledi, what we've heard from the Limpopo government is that they were part of two provinces that were outstanding in terms of legislating the sale of alcohol, saying that they had no legislation that governs when and how alcohol is sold, and that in 2009, that's when they first drafted this act. And part of the act was to ensure that, you know, there is legislation on who and when and how do they sell alcohol. Part of what is in the legislation is also how do you get a license, how often do you renew it, how much do you need to renew. And they say they've also created consultants. For them, they say it's employment creation, consultants who can help traders to get those licenses, saying they were just left behind in terms of having legislation. But because Limpopo did not have legislation, it meant that traders could work up until 2 a.m., which liquor traders say this is when, like from midnight and 2 a.m., this is the hype of their businesses. This is when the best performers get to perform. This is the time that most people stand for. This is when alcohol is sold the most. But the Liquor Act now came and said no, because there are schools that are close to liquor traders' facilities that complain about the late hours. There are also churches that complain. They've decided to move that closing time to midnight, which liquor traders say they won't take standing down. But Naledi, I think there are two elements that are very significant that should be added, that I should mention, that have been added to this new legislation, which liquor traders are not complaining about. The first one is that for years now in Limpopo, you could not legally buy alcohol on a Sunday. But since the 1st of August, since the effecting of this legislation, liquor traders have been legally selling alcohol on a Sunday. And the second thing, Naledi, is the opening times. Before this legislation, people could only start selling alcohol on a daily basis at 10 a.m. But since the legislation, they can now open at 9 a.m., which essentially gives an hour every day. And also adds that entire day of Sunday from 9 a.m. to 12 midnight. But liquor traders are saying, you know, this 12 o'clock curfew, even though you can look at the additional hour in the morning, even if you look at the Sunday sales, they do not make up for the sales that they would make between midnight and 12 a.m. So this High Court here in Polokwane is in the next few minutes expected to hear that urgent interdict, where the Liquor Traders Association says you must scrap it completely. I don't know if it means they must also scrap the other benefits that they seem to be reaping from the act. But we've seen, as you can see behind me, Naledi, the court gallery is already filled up. There's a lot of stakeholders that are interested in the matter. And even outside court, we've seen people who say they fall within the Limpopo artist movement who are chanting outside court. We've also seen political parties chanting outside court saying this act is going to kill the businesses of liquor traders, but also artists who perform at various establishments across the province. So we expect the court to hear this matter in the next little while, and we expect court to either, number one, court would determine, is this an urgent matter? Should they sit down now and enroll it on the urgent court roll, or is it a normal case that should be heard whenever at a time determined by the court? Secondly, we are expecting the court to also rule on our application as members of the media, whether we can broadcast this proceedings live, whether we can record anything, but those are parameters that have not been set at this point in time. Naledi, we will be monitoring these developments. Court is expected to start at 10 o'clock on the dot. Naledi?